Then suddenly, Ira seemed to come back to her senses. She quickly but gently moved Samira away. Her breathing was heavy, and her eyes were filled with restlessness, fear, and a little denial too. "Samira, this isn't right," she said, trying to make her voice firm, though she couldn't fully manage it. Samira leaned against the wall with a faint smile on her lips, but this time there was something deeper in her eyes. "But you didn't stop me," she whispered. Ira closed her eyes for a second before replying softly, "Just because something happens, doesn't mean it's right." Samira stepped a little closer, calmer this time instead of playful. "Then where's the mistake, ma'am? In this, or in the feelings?" Ira went silent because she had no answer to that question, or maybe she did, but couldn't say it aloud. "You don't understand. I have a place to maintain, responsibilities," she said quietly. Samira smiled softly and replied, "And you also have a heart." A silence followed between them. Ira looked at Samira again, and this time there was no anger in her eyes, only exhaustion and hesitation. "You're taking me somewhere, from where it'll be hard to return," she admitted. Samira answered gently, "I'm not pulling you there, ma'am, you're coming on your own." That sentence completely stopped Ira because it was true. After a moment, she slowly turned away and whispered, "From today, stay a little distant." She managed to say the words, but there was no strength in her voice. Samira stayed quiet for a few seconds before smiling faintly and saying, "I'll try." Ira paused but didn't turn back, though the corner of her lips curved into that strange smile again. Deep inside, one thing became clear to her: she was asking for distance, but she herself could no longer stay away. The staff room door slowly closed behind her, and standing outside, Samira whispered softly, "This is only the beginning." Later that afternoon, during dismissal time, Ira was alone in the common room. Her face carried its usual composed expression, but a slight restlessness still remained in her eyes. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Ira turned around in surprise. "Who?" Then she stopped. It was Samira, leaning against the doorframe with that familiar mischievous smile. Ira frowned immediately. "Why are you here?" Samira walked inside and gently closed the door behind her. "Nothing, just felt like seeing you," she replied. Ira instantly turned away and said, "Get out. This is the common room." Samira stepped closer. "I know. That's exactly why I came." Annoyed, Ira looked back at the mirror while fixing her sari and warned softly, "Samira, don't start again." Samira smiled lightly and moved even closer. "But I haven't started anything, ma'am." "You fix your sari, I'll just watch." Ira's hand stopped for a second, and the whole room fell silent. Slowly, she looked into the mirror and saw Samira standing behind her, eyes fixed only on her. "You're really impossible," Ira murmured. Samira replied softly, "When I see you, I don't feel like behaving." Ira lowered her gaze and continued fixing her sari, though now her hands trembled slightly. Samira slowly came right behind her until the distance between them became dangerously small. "Your sari drape is a little crooked," she whispered. Ira froze. "I can do it myself." But Samira had already reached out her hand and very gently fixed the sari, her fingers brushing against Ira's shoulder. Ira's breath caught instantly. "This looks better," Samira whispered softly. Ira looked at herself in the mirror, but instead of her own face, she saw Samira's eyes staring directly at her. "Samira, stand away," she whispered, though her voice no longer sounded firm. Samira shook her head slightly and replied, "You tell me to stay away, but you're not moving either." Ira said nothing. She simply stood there while Samira's presence behind her felt overwhelmingly clear. Then softly, Ira asked, "What if someone sees us?" Samira leaned closer and replied softly, "Yours." Both of them stood silently in front of the mirror, but inside that silence, countless unspoken words, tension, and a dangerously soft moment continued to grow. Slowly, Samira placed a hand around Ira's waist, making Ira's body tremble instantly. She wanted to remove the hand, but she didn't. Instead, she kept staring at the mirror, caught by her own reflection. "Samira," she whispered weakly. Samira leaned closer, her breath brushing against Ira's ear. Remove your hand." A second of silence passed, but Samira didn't move her hand away. Instead, she gently tightened her fingers and whispered, "I do everything you ask, but sometimes I don't feel like listening." Ira's breathing became heavier. Their reflections in the mirror showed one person trying to hold herself back while the other slowly broke down every wall around her. "You're crossing limits," Ira whispered, though there was no firmness left in her voice. Samira smiled softly and replied, "You already crossed them first, ma'am." Ira closed her eyes for 1 second, then 2. Slowly, she raised her hand and placed it over Samira's hand, not to remove it or stop it, but simply to feel the touch. Samira froze because for the first time even she became silent. Ira opened her eyes and looked into the mirror again. "You make me weak," she whispered. A soft smile appeared on Samira's lips. "You already were. I'm just showing you." Then Ira slowly turned around until Samira stood directly in front of her with no distance left between them, only the warmth of each other's breath. "You won't stop, will you?" Ira whispered softly. Samira shook her head. "No." Ira stared at her for a few seconds before suddenly pushing aside all her hesitation for one brief moment. She gently grabbed Samira's shirt collar and pulled her closer. Samira's eyes widened in surprise. In a low voice, Ira whispered, "You little troublemaker. You're playing too much now." She moved even closer.